And welcome to Two Gray Goatees and a Whistle. Coach Huddleston, or Coach Huddy's here with Coach Gonzo once
Hello.
again. And so in this episode, we're going to talk about the shifting culture in youth sports and some of the things that have been happening in sports. So I'm ready to talk to you, kind of do this little scenario that's going to lead us into our episode. So once upon a time in youth sports, it was about learning, growing, and having fun. Agreed? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what youth sports was about. Today, it sometimes feels like a coach is auditioning for a role as a family personal highlight reel or defending their decision into a courtroom of sideline parents. So what has changed?
I don't know. It's allowed to do it. Being allowed to do that, I think.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we're going to get into today. So let's talk about the evolution of youth sports culture. So let's think about youth sports, what it looked like 20, 30 years ago, because that's when we're old. Let's look back 30 plus years ago, because we're past that. High school, we can probably go back to almost 40 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So think about a time when we were youth, when we played sports. Think about the people who coached you. What were some of the people that coached you in rec ball or stuff like that? Who were they?
A lot of parents in the rec ball. I mean, the fourth or third through sixth graders.
Usually it was going to be some parents.
Yeah. The only one, the ones that would offer to, which was my dad all the time. He offered all his time. I mean,
yeah.
No, you don't get any money for it or anything like that. But
yeah. So this was for us back in the 80s.
But nobody complained.
That was the thing. And so that's what they were talking about. So 20, 30, 30 year plus years ago, even 20 years ago, it was, and it still is, a lot of times a parent involved coaching. You might get one of those awesome community members who just does it because they love doing it. And, they like doing volunteer work like that. But youth sports was a rec thing, usually, or part of some kind of club.
Up to about sixth grade.
Until about sixth grade, seventh grade, just depending on where you lived. Where I lived, it bounced between, depending what sport was. So baseball, it was all part of the Optimus Club, but it was connected to the city rec. And so you had your baseball, softball, all that stuff from 5-year-olds up to, for us, it was Babe Ruth. So we were up to like 15, 16-year-olds.
So we had basketball and baseball and soccer.
Yep. You had all these youth sports and stuff like that. And during that time, it was fun. It was, you learned how to play the game. Some parents were good coaches. They could teach you stuff. Other ones might not have been as good at the coaching, the fundamentals, but they were there. They tried. They were there for the right reason. They were there trying.
It wasn't for glory.
It wasn't for glory. This huge shift has shifted so far extreme that it's destroying us. And one of the things that kind of we're talking about, I talked about a few episodes ago, I think, was how U.S. does sports versus places like Europe and the development that happens. So this shift that has happened, club and travel teams. Okay, at my age, when I was in fifth grade, we had AAU. That was a thing, but it wasn't anything like it is now.
I wasn't good enough to play AAU.
I got selected. I didn't even know how I got selected. So in my town, we had like 4 or 5 grade schools, and the public schools in our town, we played each other. And
this is
for basketball. And so I remember we had a mix of a 5th, 6th grade team, and I was okay. I was not a starter. I was never a shooter. I was somebody that wasn't going to go out and just shoot the lights out of the ball. But I took pride in playing defense, but I was young. But playing defense, being coachable, doing what I was told, all that stuff. Rebounding. So all that is kind of what I did. I was good. As soon as I got the ball, it's like, I'm not dribbling this. I was a forward. Because at the time, I was tall at the time, and then I stopped growing. I was tall in my class. So, so I got the ball out, threw it away. Here you go. You take care of it. Go down, score. I'll go do whatever. I'll go play defense. I'll go block out, box out. So anyways, I got selected, and it was really weird because the game, it would have been, we didn't have 3-point line. I mean, they didn't have 3-point lines at that time. I was off in the corner in this game, off in the corner, and I looked, I saw I had a teammate under the basket, but I had like 3 people on me. And so I was just like, okay. So I'm like, I see you open. I went and just chucked the ball. 3 people on me, swished it. And everybody went crazy. And I was just like, yay, I made a shot. But it was like, it's not like I couldn't make shots. I didn't do it. I didn't have the confidence to shoot. And so, but I made this shot and everybody went crazy. And I think one of the parents that was there at that game, ended up being the coach of the A team, saw that and were like, we want you on the team. And I wasn't the first choice. Our better player, he had aged out. He wouldn't have, because it was 5th graders, and he was a 5th grader, but he was an older 5th grader. So he wouldn't have qualified, and he was a lot better player. So I just remember going, oh, wow, I got selected. And I was definitely number 10 on the roster. But I went there. It was a good experience. I had fun. But AAU was nothing like it is now. And travel ball, all that stuff. I didn't have to. I mean, I think my parents had to pay for my uniform and they had to pay for stuff. And then on the few tournaments we went to, we did some traveling. I had to go stay in hotels or a motel, but nothing like it is now.
And my sister spends thousands of dollars for travel ball.
It is crazy. So travel softball can cost thousands of dollars. That's just to get on the team.
It's just ridiculous.
And that's not counting everything else, getting your hotel room. And then if you go to a tournament and that charges you to get into the tournament,
every tournament charges, yeah.
Yeah, and so that shift has happened. That's one of the major shifts that's happened, and why this shift in sports culture, youth sports, has happened. Social media, that's happening. Okay, let's think about social media for a minute. It's Instagram, TikTok, all this stuff, highlight reels. It's all about the highlight reels. I kind of put this kind of on, ESPN and stuff like that, because I've talked about that before, how they made basketball more about the individual and not the team.
Yeah.
Out of all the sports, basketball, to me, has really gotten bad about making it about the individual. Football is still football. You still have to have 11 guys on the field to get a job done. Basketball, when you watch basketball, it does take more than one person, but it's always that one person getting shown in the highlights.
It's not 45 points.
It's not showing the guy who set up that play, who made the screen, or the guy getting, double-digit rebounds a game.
Rodman that plays defense and gets the rebounds.
Yeah, because back in the late 80s, Rodman was a dude. In the early 90s, he was. That's what he did. But that's the shit that's happening. So, rise of travel ball, highlight reels, social media pressure. You've gone a shift from character building to now it's about, can I get a scholarship to go play ball and be a star?
Character building should be the
number one priority.
It should be the first thing you do. And
yes,
that's what I do and you do. And there's times that we get shot down because we're worried about what kind of person they're going to be instead of wins and losses. And it's like,
yeah,
that just sucks.
And particularly in youth sports, I know it gets a little bit harder when you get in high school and stuff like that.
But still,
you still need to have that character building, and it's still about development. But especially though, your 6th, 7th grader is not getting a scholarship today to go freaking play at a D1 school.
And they're probably not going to get one.
They're probably not going to get one. So this mindset, and so there's different categories some of this falls on. Some of this, I think, falls on what social media and what media in general has made sports, and about this is a way to get rich. Even though the possibility of that happening is
so slim.
I mean, to get to know somebody that has been selected to go play in the pros.
I know one. I mean, one in 27 years of coaching. I know one.
I've known people that have gone on and do semi-pro stuff, and I've known people that have gone drafted in baseball. Baseball drafting is a little bit different because it's still not the same, because a lot of times those guys get drafted and they want to go play
your 85th pick and you're going to get it
because they have so many picks. And then so you might go play 3 or 4 years in a minor league system.
You're going to pair of cleats and thank you. And
yeah, you're traveling, staying in really bad hotels, and baseball.
I'm going to tell you, baseball. I've coached a lot of baseball. I coached a lot of football. basketball, I have one kid I can say that, well, I can't even say him either because he's just starting in the pros.
Right.
We don't know what he's going to do.
Right. You know, we've coached kids that have gone and played college.
Yeah.
And at all different levels, whether it be in an NAIA junior college to Division One, all mid-G. But that's getting to there. That's even slim.
Mm-hmm.
And then getting selected to the all the way to pros is even slimmer. So I put some of this on the expectations of what people see on TV and what our kids see, because a lot of times they're like, oh, I'm going to go do this. And I never want to shoot a kid's dream down, but it's like we ask those kids, okay, so what are you going to do to do that? And then what's the response?
I don't know.
Yeah, they don't know. Or it's like, oh, I'm going to go shoot the basketball.
Yeah, I'm going to shoot a three-pointer.
Okay, so, and then what? So it's like, okay, it's not just, okay, I'm going to go practice on my shooting, but then what are you going to do? Are you going to go to the gym? Are you going to go to the track? Are you going to go do, are you,
weight room?
Are you, weight room, all this stuff, all the training that goes that these people who are at that level, what they are doing. I think sometimes youth don't understand that until it gets to that point. And I think for some of them, it hits them, probably their high school year where they're like, maybe I'm not that anymore.
So I had a young coach ask me the other day, he goes, what's the biggest difference between when you played football and today? And I pretty much told him, I said, it's a weight room.
Yeah.
We didn't have to do it. Yeah. We lifted, but it wasn't like a expectation that every day we were lifting. We'd come in every day during the summer. Yep. And I mean, I'm going to tell you that high school players right now are probably just as advanced as college players were.
Yeah, 23 years ago.
Strong. It's just strong. The strength and all that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that's gotten better. So that's gotten better. The training, and I think how we look at sports and how that part and how you coach. We're not. We're looking at things a lot bit differently from a health point of view, like concussions, all that stuff. But the kids don't want to do the work, and that's this unrealistic expectation I think they see because they just see the highlight. They don't see the work behind the highlight. They don't see the 500 shots that were missed that this player took, over the weekend, just working out.
I don't see Kathleen Luce doing the crossover 500 times before she did to win a game.
A girl I knew, her mom used to babysit me in Christensen. She was one of the best players that ever came into Utah State basketball. And I remember her as a kid when they were living in Union. She had a basketball to her hip. It didn't matter wherever she went, what time of the year, she had a basketball, and she dribbled that thing all the time. She ended up being one of the best point guards ever come out of Utah State. And in fact, I think she got in the Hall of Fame. But that's the level of work you got to put in there.
But the other thing with all these players we're talking about, their parents didn't overload it.
Yes, and we're going to get to that. So we talked about how that shift has happened over 23 years. Travel ball, highlight reels, social media, and going from character building to can my kid get a scholarship?
I would have been embarrassed if my mom was pissed at coaches a lot of times, but if she would have ever gone to the coach and said something to him, I would have been embarrassed as hell. Right. I would have been so mad at her.
Yeah.
You didn't do it then.
No, because you trusted the coach. And so now we're going to get into parent entitlement. Common behaviors that we see in parents now versus then. When we were there, it was your thing. This was your sport. If you wanted to be it, you were going to have to put the work in. However much time you put in to become the player that was going to put out that performance on the field or on the court, that's what it was. What was the work that you were going to put into it?
So we came late to a district playoff game, my buddy and two of my buddies, my cousin, and our coach left. He told the bus to leave as we were driving up.
Yeah.
And we followed him to Wendell, and he goes, I'm not going to consequence the rest of the team. You're still going to play, but I'm so disappointed. I mean,
yeah.
And my mom, think about that. You left the kid, and we had to drive ourselves to the game, which is probably stupid. We passed the bus, which is so,
yeah.
But my mom wouldn't say a word. She was like,
Yeah. And
she's actually said that we shouldn't have played. She's like,
right.
I wouldn't have played. That's what my
Yeah.
mom
You're
said.
late. You're late, dude.
Yeah.
You're late. That's no different than a job. So common behaviors we see from parents now: demanding playing time, challenging coaching decisions, focusing on individual over team success. We have seen this in our profession, not just us, but we see with other people where if you're not going to play my kid, I'm going to take him somewhere else.
Yeah, we're going to go somewhere. Or if you're not going to get a coach that's good enough to coach these kids, we're going to go
somewhere else. Or, you know, or they undermine. You know, you see this all the time. You'll see kids looking up in the stands at their parents when you're trying to coach them up. Okay, something's happened. You know, they're looking up in the stands.
So my biggest thing about parents is just, and it made me feel good, but I had all my girls, I think a lot of my girls this year come and ask me, why am I not coaching? Or we didn't play, and went to the AD and everything. But the AD actually said, I have no authority.
And so
they're going to hire who they want. I mean, and that he meant the parents, and that's crazy that kids
that's the problem. And it's not like that in every community, but we have communities around here that are very much
shit.
And you have extremes on both sides. So another community I know of that's around here, it's like hardly any expectations for their sports for the most part, and they haven't had a lot of their sports haven't had success.
But neither
but yeah, and that's the other thing. Zero parent involvement, zero success, overzealous parents and control,
and zero success. I mean, shit. I'm going to tell you what. 5 wins in that season that we had. That was pretty good, I think.
Yeah, where do you define success?
But they were like pissed off at me because during the wards assembly, I said, you know what, 5 games, I think we grew as a team.
So that's the other thing. Coaches
can't make chicken salad, chicken shit. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So you got the customer service mindset where parents are treating coaches as a service provider. Okay. Not as the authority that's in control of that profession.
And when the kids said, my God, we had so much fun when you played for you guys, and not, I guess fun's not supposed to be there anymore.
Right. Yeah. That's the other thing. Helicopter versus snowplow parenting in youth sports. Helicopter parents are the ones that are always hanging around during practice and stuff like that. Snowplow parents are the ones that are just absolutely demanding, like, this is what needs to happen. We're doing this. It's like, what the heck? Where you're trying to do your job.
So with the snowplow, we nobody ever came to practice.
Yeah, we don't really, my experience, I've seen it with other teams, but
with us, so did anyone come to practice?
No. So that's the parental entitlement thing that happens. And so, a quote I heard was, the loudest voice in the gym used to be the whistle. Now it's the parents yelling about playing time. And that's a thing. And it's not just parents towards the coaches, it's parents towards the referees and to everybody. And it's sad because it's becoming I hate using epidemic because that's such an extreme. But when it comes to sports and being able to have sports organizations in this country, it has gotten so bad that we have a huge shortage of referees, umpires.
I'm going to say our fans are the worst I've ever seen.
We got there's bad fans everywhere.
But
we do. And there's bad fans. But
pushing each other.
Yeah. And that's but we have refs. We got refs who don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, and because of Hagerman, because of us.
Well, not just there, anywhere. It's not just here. It's happening everywhere. It's a national problem.
But we have coaches getting attacked.
Coaches have been attacked by parents. After games, we've seen videos of parents like jumping refs, coaches.
I had a parent come up to me and say, I don't care. I don't give a shit if I'm not supposed to talk to you right after a game, but I'm going to. I mean, it's like,
well, that's the entitlement part.
I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
Talk to me, but I'm not going to listen to you really much.
So that's the entitlement part. Player entitlement. Now we're shifted to players. Okay. Instant gratification generation. We know this. We see this. It's all about, I want my thing now. Mm-hmm. There's no patience, less tolerance for struggling with adversity, not the great players embrace the suck. That's a military term. Embrace the suck.
I honestly think that a lot of players right now are not conceited. I know one. I mean, when you have a team of 20 and maybe one or two that are all about them, but then you have the rest of the team that
can anchor that and they can keep that under control. If you have a team where they understand it's about the team and they can keep those people in check, but do you have other there are cases where you have other personalities that are toxic to the team.
I think our last year of softball in Gooding, you and I, it was Taylor and all those guys. I think that team, they were all in it for the team.
Yeah, that was never in question. But that's the culture that's built. And
I mean, we had them for 4 years, didn't we?
Yeah, we have them for all those years. So finding else for players, we got the balancing, developing, and keeping players and parents happy. Fear of backlash of losing players, especially to travel ball. I'm not one of those people that's ever going to be afraid of losing a player. Because if I lose a player because, oh my gosh, you're not playing me or I don't like what you're doing, I don't care how good you are. Oh,
don't get a good coach.
I don't care. I wouldn't care. And I mean, I'm not coaching right now, but that's not my problem. If you think grass is greener somewhere else, go.
Yeah, it's usually greener because septic tanks on that side.
Yep, that's the way you look at it.
More shit there. I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. Why do coaches do what they do? I mean, is it because
people know our reason?
Yeah, I mean, and they don't like it sometimes.
No.
I mean, I've been to state playoffs a lot of times, but you know what? My first year hit where I'm at now, and my second year, they were fun. I had a great time with those girls.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, this year in football, those kids were fun. We had a winning record. It wasn't undefeated, but we had a winning record.
But let's think about this for a second. So from dealing with parents, we talked about that, and the coaches and what we're dealing with there, and the player entitlement about the quitting, transferring. We see it at the college level, high school level. You know, I'm sure even in travel ball this happens where I'm not going to play for this travel ball team anymore because I don't like this coach of this. I'm going to go to this travel team. And so there's that. And then, you know, athletes struggle and they don't understand humility, resilience, anything that it takes. So
it's like the girls tell me they're not going to play next year if I don't coach. And I'm like, you don't play for the coach.
You don't play for the coach. Play because you love the sport.
You love the sport.
You love the sport. Play for the sport.
And you know the girls I'm talking about.
And
they're good.
And I don't like hearing that from players either. I'm like, play. And I hated hearing it from when I'm in school because they didn't like whatever coach was coaching that sport. And I'm just like, do you love the game? Then go play.
They're like, the only thing that really upsets me is they tell me they don't have fun. And
yeah, and that's rough. And
I don't know if I would have played any sport if I didn't have fun at it. I mean,
no. And if you're not having fun, if your heart's not in it, don't play the sport. Period. I don't care if you're good or not. If you're not,
some of those kids,
it's been beaten out of them from all different directions, and it's sad. Coaching things that happen as coaches. So shifting to the coaches in this age, emotional toll on coaching, dealing with unrealistic expectations, balancing, developing, and keeping players and parents happy. We know that. Fear of backlash of losing a player. Like I said, that one doesn't bother me.
So what do you think about hiring coaches that work for the school?
The way I've always kind of looked at it is that if you can hire...
I think you should go internal.
I think you should go internal to get, because they're around those kids all the time.
I got
and if you are not going to have somebody I've been hired as a coach, usually as an assistant, as an outsider. And then the head coach, when I was at one school in Oregon, the last two coaches, they didn't work at the school. But we did have a coach that worked at the school. So I think you should go eternal. I think that should be a priority.
It's going to help the AD.
It is. And
I mean, how many times did I not know that we had a softball player that was absent all day and they were practicing?
Right.
It's just like,
yeah. And then that's the thing. So having somebody in that building helps with that, because then they can keep on top of their grades and all that stuff. So even, I'm not saying it's necessary you have to have a head coach from that building, but you need to have a coach from that building. So I don't think necessarily has to be a head coach. But I mean, it's, if you're at a small school, you're going to get whoever you get.
Yeah.
So if you're fortunate enough to get somebody who teaches and coaches, and you try to get them on board, do it.
Better keep them.
But then that's where you have to have a strong administration. That's where you got a community that's got to be able to support, and that's where this entitlement sometimes comes.
Last thing, what you haven't addressed was admin.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that in a sec. So we know coaches are leaving because of burnout, whether it's from pressure from parents or just the players.
So I took a new job just so I could coach.
Right. Sometimes you take a new job because you have the desire to coach, but just not where you're at anymore. And that's the other thing. It's not just might not be because somebody's a bad coach. It's just that they're not the right fit, and they got to go find their fit. That Mac Brown said that, and that was from Texas. Mm-hmm. When he was successful with Texas for a while, and
I don't know if he'd be a right fit for us.
I don't know, and that's not my problem right now. So that's kind of how I look at it. That's somebody else's problem. So the thing, though, is finding solutions. I think bitching about it is never a thing. We should find solutions. So I think
easy to bitch about it.
It's easy. It's always easy to complain, but I've always told I've told my students this. I've told my players this when they are complaining. It's like, what's your solution? And it stops them, because they're like, well, what do you mean? You're complaining about all this stuff. What's the solution? So I think some of the things we need to do, trying to find solution in this being a coach in this time period, is teaching gratitude. Still teach the team first value, especially at a young age, 5-year-olds to 10-year-olds, whatever. Teach about team first. Communicate better, and set the expectations with parents. Whether they listen or not, that's not our problem. As long as we put the expectations out there, and I think if a coach is consistent with those, you've done everything you're supposed to do. Now, if the parent blows that off, which we've seen parents do, that's them. That's not us. Empowering coaches through professional development and administrative support. That's huge. You have to have the backup from your administration.
Girl pair.
And, well,
it's tough when the community runs your school.
When you have communities that have so much influence on everything.
I know you're nice, so say how you're going to say it.
No, I am. I know, but I got it. And then I think one of the last ones is restoring focus and effort, accountability, and long-term growth, whatever. They went undefeated their middle school year.
Yeah, they think they should do it.
And then they get up and it's high school. It's like, it's a different game. And I don't think people realize that. And they're like, well, wait a second, this team was undefeated. And
junior high.
And it was junior high. It's different fish, different pond. And so I think part of the communication is teaching about development and trusted development. The teams that are constantly successful have that built into their programs.
See, I think we got downgraded because of that, though. That's what we tried to do.
Right. And
I mean, honestly, think about basketball. We really did fundamentals.
Yeah. And it's one of those things. It's like, okay, what?
We weren't scoring 60 points a game.
What needs to be fixed to make that better? And I don't think that opportunity ever came about. When you're trying to develop and you're trying to build something, and then you take that architect or that construction company and rip them out and say, nope, this is not what we want. Now you have to tear the foundation down, rebuild it again. And I think that's what happens a lot of times when you have communities and these expectations and stuff like that, where you don't have the patience. And I think if you can get the coaches in there, and the one thing about coaching now is that you have to be, I hate to say it, but you got to be able to connect with the community to a point.
If you don't have to kiss their ass,
you shouldn't have to, right? And I totally agree with that. But
it's a sore subject for me. I'm sorry.
No, and I get that, and that's you. What you got to say is completely legit. But I'm saying that I think, unfortunately, more the communication has with the parents. Now, if they don't want to take it and they don't like how you're doing things, tough. But if you have a community that's so involved that the school can't do their job, that's where you have problems.
And we've seen that.
And we've seen that. And we've seen it on both sides. And then I've seen it in places where it's not really.
It's not a healthy environment.
It's not. It's a toxic environment.
Yeah.
So, but that is something that has to happen. So, find solutions. You got to restore the focus on accountability, long-term growth, setting the expectations, team first mentality, working it at a young age to get it right. And so, hopefully, that's how we can do that. My tips for parents is letting your kids struggle and grow, and don't remove every freaking obstacle that's there for them. For players, respect the grind, embrace the suck. You're not entitled to success. You have to earn it. For coaches, be firm, be fair, and protect the culture of your team.
And love it.
So that's all I have to say on that. Once again, I want to thank everybody who has listened to this episode. And if you want, please share your thoughts, comments. Love to hear from you guys.
Again, Taylor Gonzalez, thank you for listening to our podcast.
Taylor Gonzalez.
I would Rossman. Sorry.
Shout out to Taylor. Shout out to Kelly, my daughter, and
our family loves it.
To all our family. You know, Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. You guys are awesome. We appreciate everything you guys do. So let's talk about our last segment. We're going to do our mascot of the week. Stay in Oregon. We're going to go to the coast of Oregon.
Going to do the
Tillamook.
Oh,
cheese makers. All right, the cheese makers of Tillamook.
Oh my God.
Okay, Tillamook, huge cheese
factory.
People, anybody, at least on the West Coast, knows Tillamook cheese. Yeah,
anybody knows Tillamook.
Yeah, Tillamook cheese. I don't know how far Tillamook goes. I don't know if it goes far how far east goes. I haven't been back east, but I can tell you, if you're in Oregon, Washington, Idaho, California, Nevada, you're going to see Tillamook. Anyways, their mascot is the cheese makers. Colors are red, black, and white.
And it's a churn, like they're churning.
Yeah, cheese maker. So Tillamook High School was established prior to 1912, 1915 yearbook. And apparently there's alumni all the way back to 1904. New high school was built in 1912. Students attended that school until 51-52 school year. And then they moved it to their current location. Yeah. There's also Tillamook School has advanced AP courses that tie into their Tillamook Bay Community College.
I was there during spring break.
Yeah. Tillamook received a new turf for the football, soccer, and track field back in 2007.
I think they got a new one since then, too, because it's really nice for me.
Notable alumni from there. Monica Bannister. She's an actress. Don't know her.
Nope.
Know this person. He was a politician, local politician I think he was a state rep. Brian Boswick. Lars Larson, who's a radio personality, conservative radio personality. He's from Tillamook. Jerry Kilgore, he's a musician. Actor from All My Children, Jacob Young. He's an alumni from Tillamook. So a little bit of history there. So again, I want to thank everybody for listening, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Tillamook.